Hello there, I'm Frames Janko, and today I'm not really talking to you as the guy who makes videos online. I'm talking to you as someone who was in the military, and I'm going to talk to you about the things that if you're going into the military, you really need to do. Now, as proof that I was in the military, I have one of my old military cards right there. That's me. It was me. Anyway, so just to let you know where I'm coming from, I was in the U.S. Army in the infantry I started the Future Soldier program back in like 2010, 2011, and then I shipped off 2 weeks after I graduated, and then I got out. Technically, my contract ended like right as 2016 started, but I had so many days saved up of like leave days, time off, that I was home like 2 months before that, just chilling. So yeah, it has been about, as of the time of recording, roughly 5 years coming up on. And you would think I might make this sort of dated information, but the government is incredibly slow to adapt, so this should be really, really straightforward and simple. So let's just go ahead and get into the first tip, and it's set up auto payments. So when you first get in, you're going to be going into basic training. If you're going in straight out of high school, you probably don't have a ton of payments, but if you're going in as an adult, you will. Regardless, whether you have auto payments set up while you're in there or while you're, whenever you get out, whenever you're just doing whatever military branch you're in stuff, there's this thing called going to the field, where you're going to be off in a simulation of your work environment, which is usually not near cell towers or internet, and even if it is, you're usually not allowed to use your phone or make calls, or you can't. So if your car payment is coming up and you don't want your credit score to get demolished, set everything up on auto pay. Just do that. And if you're single going into the military, make sure, this happened to me twice, they were paying me as though I were married, which is a pay grade bump of, I don't remember how much at the time. And so I told them that I was getting paid as though I were married, and I'm not. And they didn't really take notice. I had to go to their offices like 3 or 4 times, and finally they did. But because of that, they said that I owed them money, so they just didn't pay me again until the amount of paychecks I would have received equaled the amount extra that I'd been paid. They're really terrible at that. So financially, yeah, set up auto payments. And also, if you have a parent that you trust, maybe give them access to an account, if not your account, where you can put the money that you're going to be spending bills on. So that way, if something messes up, they can send you money to take care of it. Or if you're locked out of your account because you're in the middle of nowhere, make it where there's someone else, where someone who will not be in those situations at the same time can tend to your bank and your bills. It sounds really silly, but it will demolish your credit score. I know this from experience, and there are plenty of other people in the barracks that I met that went through the same thing repeatedly. So, be careful about that. And I would say that number 2, another horribly important thing, is to, every injury, go to an Army or Navy or Air Force or whatever doctor. Sick call is usually what they call it, which is like a low-grade ER. And they'll look at whether you have a fever or a cold, or if you have a knee that's out of place or something. Mine got messed up a lot. And get paperwork proving that you were injured. And a lot of phones do this already, where when you get them, like if you get a Microsoft device, they'll allow you to have a bunch of Microsoft One cloud access, or iPhone will give you a bunch of iCloud storage. Use that to take photos. I don't know if you can hear, my wife's dog is playing with squeaky toys. I apologize. Take photos of everything. The government will keep track of that, but they don't like paying for injuries. And if your injuries, if you wear and tear your knees or your back, or just trauma happens, if anything happens, even if it doesn't affect you, if it could be considered traumatic emotionally or physically, go get it checked out just to see if anything happened. That way there's a clear record of when it happened, because years from now, whenever it may or may not take a toll on you, you have proof of that. And taking pictures of those things, scanning them, keeping a hard copy somewhere in a fireproof or waterproof safe. Yeah, that's something I wish I'd done. There are a few body parts that I had records of, but I was always encouraged by my chain of command to not be a puss and to suck it up. I shouldn't have listened to them. I should have said, look, I just want to go make sure everything is fine. if you phrase it that way, if you just say you want to make sure nothing is broken, you just want to get a clean bill of health, they can't stop you. So go and get that checked out. It genuinely could help save your life down the line, because if you get a certain percentage, I believe it's 30 or 40%, then you can like be seen at, I believe, like military, like VA hospitals, or they'll cover like 1 or 2 emergency room or doctor's visits a year. And if you're someone who's in generally good health, like my body is falling apart, but I'm generally in okay health, so I don't go to the hospital a lot. But if something drastically fails, I have this safety net now where they'll be like, okay, look, we'll cover you. And that's just nice. And inevitably, when things get worse, I have a lot of chewable magnesium and tablets for bone strength, vitamin D. I don't know why I had like that. I have vitamin D for bone health. Do that. Looking to go into a spa day, even if you're a guy. I know it can seem effeminate, but take care of yourself. Something else to do is to find someone who is roughly 2 or 3 ranks ahead of you. So if you're a specialist, look for someone who's a sergeant or a staff sergeant. If you're just a brand new mosquito wing private, try to find someone who's a specialist or a sergeant. Cling to them, drain them of information of who is good to talk to, who's going through a bad divorce, so you shouldn't hang out with them because they're going to just take it out on you because they had a bad day at work. So you're going to be doing push-ups for things you aren't in trouble for. All kinds of stuff like that. Find a good group of people within your chain of command and try to bond with them. Whether, even if you just keep it strictly professional, just get information from them, learn from them, and it won't hurt you to once or twice volunteer to do some work that you don't necessarily want to do in order to gain favoritism with them. Say that someone needs to go do a really bad detail where they're going to be cleaning all of the brass, all the shells out of a shooting range after a day of a bunch of people qualifying with their weapons. It isn't fun, but it's not terrible. You usually get a lot of downtime in that. You're just going to be working some late hours, maybe, and it's not always the most fun. But if you do that, the next time you need someone to cover you on 24-hour guard shift, or if you need someone to vouch for you, like if you're going to the hospital or to sick call to get your body checked out all the time, but you're also not shying away from work, they'll know that you're not trying to shame out of things, and they'll take what you're doing seriously. That being said, if someone needs to be driven to dental and be taken care of, if you stop and take another extra 30 minutes to go get some food every once and again, don't do it more than once or twice a month, but it's good to have that. Don't be so hard on yourself. It is a more stressful work environment than just about anything else, because it is life or death. Even when you're in garrison, people take it super seriously. So, give yourself some time to relax. And also, take care of yourself. If your chain of command screws you over, there are civilian people you could talk to. I forget the terminology for them, and it may be different from branch to branch anyway. Towards the end of you good, Rux? She's good. Towards the end of my career, there was just this thing where people would screw with each other, and there was this one staff sergeant who really had it in for me. He had the Forrest Whitaker eye and a lot of PTSD that he did not handle well. If your chain of command fails you, if the people who were good have left and gone other places, or you've gone to some place that's a little bit more toxic, do everything you go through the chain of command, be as respectful as you can through that. But if they fail you, go to the civilian sector side on base. There's usually a place where you can go to and you can talk to it. I know the terminology for it is just on the back of my head. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's going to keep me up at night tonight. But I had to go to them and say, look, these guys are harassing me. They're giving me orders to go to 2 different locations in 2 different uniforms, and whichever one I fail at, they write me up. And they're harassing me and talking about taking away my honorable discharge. Obviously, they didn't actually have the power to do that, but it scared the crap out of me. And when you live in the vacuum of this sort of a pocket reality where everything is insane, it's believable. There's a lot of abuse of power that sometimes can happen in toxic environments. It's hard to keep things in check. So if you don't have good people to keep those people in check, if something like that happens, someone gets injured, it's really easy to get screwed over. So if you do everything you can, if you exhaust it, if you gather proof, if you have other people of similar rank who can vouch that you've been trying to do your best, go to civilian side of things on base and try to be like, look, this is what's going on. Let them know what's going on. What I did is I said, I don't want to do anything that would damage the name of this unit or of our first sergeant who's about to retire, who is phenomenal. He was one of the best we ever had. And I was like, I just want you to know that this is what they're doing, so that way if they take it another step, you don't think I'm making it up now just to cover my butt. So that this way there's evidence that this has been going on. And then I wrote a letter saying as such whenever I couldn't track down our first sergeant, who was very busy at the time. And I gave the information, I put the information in a letter, said, hey, really respect you. I don't want to, put anything negative on you. These people within the unit are being really difficult, and I'm not going to let them put my future in jeopardy. So I hope you can understand that. I've spoken to these people. I'm not moving forward unless people continue to make things difficult for me. And immediately they were like, don't even come into work. Just keep clearing out. Go visit all those places. You're basically a civilian again anyway. And now another thing, eventually when you do get out, you need to find yourself a group that'll be easy to talk to. Veterans who have gone through this process and have gone through it successfully, or even people who screwed up their transitional period but have now since rebounded. Because it is a churn that will eat you alive if you are not careful. Obviously, this can be helped a little bit if you try to keep in contact with civilian friends and family, and you Skype with them, or you talk, or you visit frequently, and you try to keep one foot in the civilian world and one foot in whichever branch that you're in, and it's very easy to get tunnel vision, and it's a very Fast and Furious style family. You're all in danger, you bond. Even the people you hate, even the people with wildly different views, even the people who play loud music at night, you all trust that if one of them is in danger, you're going to potentially risk your life and potentially die trying to save their life, trying to do the right thing, and they would do it for you too. So it can sometimes be overwhelming and exhausting, and between that and the weird work hours, it can be difficult to maintain those healthy relationships with friends and family. I know I didn't maintain them well for about a year and a half. Do what you can to keep those strengthened and happy, and ask if you know where you're going to go back, if you're going to go live in the same town as your folks, if you're going to go to a place with one of your friends. Ask around, see if they can find some veteran groups, not necessarily a support group, but if you're going to a college, see if they have an ROTC or any veterans that are on campus. There are veteran-friendly campuses where they'll encourage veterans to come because they want your GI Bill money. They want to abuse that. And some of them, like the one I went to, will treat you like dog shit and smile at you the whole time. And they'll use your entire GI Bill and screw up your paperwork so that you don't fully get your degree, despite following their orders to a T. So I guess as a side note, make sure that you are keeping track on your e-benefits or whichever website it is of the amount of GI Bill you have left, and don't trust the civilian sector to necessarily understand all of that. But yeah, find a group of people who have gone through. I was lucky to meet Marines and airmen and other people from the Army that were in different MOSs, which is a job in civilian speak. It's the difference between, a medic, someone who works on a Bradley, someone who flies a helicopter, the people who are in the mailroom, all these different jobs. There's a million different jobs. It's ridiculous. I always thought it was just G.I. Joe stuff. There's a whole infrastructure to it. There's construction workers, which is a really good transferable skill set back to the civilian sector, unlike the infantry, where I was qualified to have back problems and make inappropriate jokes. So, not super helpful. Had to learn a lot of new skills. But yeah, find a group of people you can reach out to and hang out with. Go to a bowling alley. There are a lot of veteran-friendly things, usually in towns. Where I live, there's a golf course that once a month there's a veterans night where you can go for free. I think I even saw it. I suck at golf, and honestly, I threw my back out a couple of times swinging away. But I got to hang out with all these guys. You drink, you eat some food, you have a good time. And talking with people who have gone through things, it really helps you contextualize it. When I found out some of the guys from my unit, my buddy Scotty had gone through some rough transitional periods as well, and finding out that I wasn't alone in that struggle, I straight up cried. I was just silently crying. I thought I was just a screw up, but it's a common issue. It's a common struggle, and the amount of stress you have on a normal day in the military is more stress than most people have at a stressful day normally. You don't have to be getting shot at to be put under pressure and have PTSD from things. So don't undermine what you've gone through. That being said, some people get in and out and they are resilient, and it's just a luck of their personality and who they worked with. It doesn't affect them negatively at all. And in fact, I know that it helped me as much as it also didn't. So I wouldn't change what I did. I would just be healthier and better about how I went through it. Whenever you do eventually get out, or while you're in even, make a blog, find, like, not just find a hobby. You should have a hobby to try and relieve stress and tension and have something that you can sort of anchor yourself in. But writing or talking to people, I had a really hard time processing some of the things that happened while I was in the military. And by writing about it, it was much easier than talking about it. And because I wrote about it on a blog that I was not promoting, that no one was ever going to read, I was then able to talk to a couple people. And after I talked to a couple people about it, I was able to talk openly about it. And I got to be part of like a big open forum where we talked to other students about what it's actually like to be in the military, and I was able to do presentations on it. But talking about it and the struggle and the good, and thinking back to all the fun you had, because I had the most fun of my entire life in those barracks and on those weekends with those guys that I worked with, and meeting their friends and their families, and doing things I never would have imagined, and going places I never would have thought. It was incredible, and honestly, I genuinely miss it. If my body wasn't messed up, I think I would be very tempted to go back in, because as stressful as it can be, it's also just, it's fun. It is. So those are the main takeaways. A while back, actually filmed a whole long video about double this length with tips about what it's like to go in, explaining a lot of what it's like to actually be in the military, some misconceptions, and I think it was just so unfocused and rambling that I kind of thought it was a little too much, and I realized that I could just do a series of videos about misconceptions, about things to help you while you're in, while you're going in, while you're getting out. And this is just like a brief version that kind of covers a lot of those things. And these are the things that if I could only have you watch one video, I would want you to do this. I would want you to be financially taken care of, to make sure you don't get screwed over. I would want you to know how to thrive while you're in whatever unit you're in, and how to both stay sane while you're in it and transition out effectively. Take care of yourself. Don't be taken advantage of, because there are a lot of places that don't have the resources, they don't have the understanding to help you. And when you come back to your friends and your family, you will not be the same person that left, and there can be a really awkward transitional period where no one quite knows how to talk to each other, and you're more strangers than anything else. So finding ways to let them know, hey, I know that I'm different, but I still care about you, and I still, like, maybe I don't eat the same foods, but I still like to go do this, or let's go try this new thing together. I want to bond with you, and just learning how to vocalize that and verbalize that and interact again, it's a game changer. And if you can do these things even moderately well, you will be miles ahead of everyone who only figures out they should do this once they're out and they play catch up, like myself. So I hope this has been helpful. I know this is a lot less like fun and ridiculous like a lot of my videos are, but I think this is something serious that people need help with, and that it can just be something that it's a tool to utilize even if you don't go into the military. If you know a friend or family member who was in, maybe have them watch this or just recount it to them. It might be a nice way to interact with them. In fact, I hope to do a video with my wife about how to interact with veterans or people that are in or are now out, and like the do's and don'ts, because there are some weird things that you wouldn't expect to be things that are really annoying or sensitive or difficult, and other things that mean a whole lot. But yeah, so there's mountains of content about this, about the disability rating process, about every weird facet that no one seems to be covering. So I guess I will, because if I could do anything, if I dropped dead tomorrow, I would just want to know that the people that are going to make the same choices that I did or similar ones are better taken care of than I was, because I made it out okay-ish. But I just, anyone who goes into this, they're my brother and sister, whether I know them or not, and I immediately care about you, and I just want you to be taken care of. So with that, I hope this has been helpful or informative. I hope my future videos on these topics are also helpful. And, stay safe, stay sane. Thanks. You've been a great audience. I've been an okay host. And I look forward to talking to you guys and gals in the next video, all right?